Do you want to avoid yourself from getting beat up, look like a fool, or getting arrested overseas? Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Travel Tip Wednesday. Today we are actually going to talk about how to behave in other countries. Well, if you don't want to look like a fool, get arrested, or even get beat up when traveling overseas, there is actually some rules and regulations and etiquettes that we have to follow when we are traveling to another country. For example, when you travel to the United States, it is best to not talk about politics because normally Americans don't like to talk about politics. Another etiquette here in the United States is that we Americans, we like to have our own special bubble or space. We are that type of people that, for example, if a man comes and hugs someone and you don't feel comfortable, we will shove you off. Because we Americans, we don't like to be very tight or feeling other person's body. But there's always an exception to that. Normally, if it's within family members or best friends, it's normally okay. But in general, we Americans, we don't like to be so tight together with other person that we don't feel comfortable with. So another etiquette is when you actually are traveling to another country, especially in Latin America, particularly in Chile. If you actually travel to Chile, they are so good in etiquette. They're also good in manners. So normally when you are out in public in Chile, do not eat with your hands. Like for example, here in America, we like to eat pizza with our hands, eat hamburgers. But in Chile, it's actually good to eat with a full utensil in order to eat food down there. And that's what I know about Chile. In another country where you have to strictly follow some rules and regulation is actually in Singapore. Did you know that chewing gum in Singapore could actually make you go to jail or get fined up to $1,000 US? Yes. So if you're ever gonna travel to Singapore, do not bring gum. Better leave them at your home country. So here in the United States, normally tipping is normal, but in other countries, tipping is actually a big no-no, such as in Japan. If you actually are tipping in Japan, that's considered like an offense or something very discouraging. Also in Japan, when you're actually eating soup, when you actually are gonna complete eating the soup, it is actually good to slurp the soup in order to give compliment to the chef saying that, hey, your soup was very good. Another etiquette that you need to know, especially when you're traveling in Asia, is when you're actually in Korea. In Korea, when you pay in cash or in credit card, normally we take out with a hand and pass it to the cash register. But in this country, you have to use both hands. If you take out a denomination or a credit card, instead of handing them over with just one hand, it's good to actually hand over with two hands. If you're visiting countries such as Germany, you know it's actually prohibited to use the Nazi sign over there or any gesture that has to do with Nazi. Yes, if you actually do this in Germany, you could actually get arrested or kicked out of the country. So another etiquette, for example, this is a good one because when I was in Brazil, there's certain gesture that is totally normal for us here in the United States, but because when I was in Brazil, naturally, some gesture that I used to do, it was actually an offense. You have to be careful how the way you actually are moving around, what type of gesture you're using, because normally in the country that you're going to visit is actually a big offense. In some other countries, using the OK symbol is actually a big offense if you use the OK symbol in another country. Using the OK symbol or sometimes the peace symbol means something very horrible and you might get kicked out of the country or arrested or actually beat up. And this is another interesting one. If you go to Malaysia, you know you're not allowed to touch the head of someone else because the head is actually considered a very sacred part of the body. Yes, if you actually touch the head of someone in this country of Malaysia, you're actually gonna get beat up or arrested. And this is a good one. I have this for experience when I visit the Middle East. In the Middle East, normally men and women has to be separate unless if you're actually married to a woman, you're allowed to walk together in the streets, but normally walking together men and women is a big no-no. Also, as well, when you're traveling in the Middle East, when you're actually taking pictures or recording something, people do not like to be recorded or taken pictures of. You have to ask permission first in order to take a picture or record. Normally when I used to be in the Middle East, I used to say, hey, I'm gonna record. Is it okay if you be in the video, or I'm gonna take pictures, is it okay for you be in the picture? If they say yes, go for it. If they say no, please respect their decision and just walk away. And that is it for Travel Tip Wednesday. These are just some of the tips. I know in each country they have different etiquettes, rules, and regulation that we have to follow. If we don't follow these rules and regulation, we actually gonna look very dumb in front of the locals, or even worse, get killed or get arrested or deported. So the best way to prevent yourself from looking like a fool when traveling overseas is actually get to know the culture, get to know the etiquettes. If you know someone from that country, ask them questions before you go to that country. It's better to be safe than sorry. And that is it for Travel Tip Wednesday. If you have any more comments or anything else you want to share about your country, any etiquettes, how to behave yourself, you could comment down below. And for the first time viewers, I want to say thank you for watching. I want you to subscribe for this channel because this is an educational travel channel where each week we are actually going to be learning about the ins and outs of traveling and also share some of my travel experience in the area where I'm actually at. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching this video. Please subscribe, like, and until next time, safe travels.